good to go?
Yeah.
All right, so welcome to the final full council meeting for the year, and to those on live stream as well. I have apologies from Councillor Kett, Councillor Pottinger and Reverend Cook. Any other names to be added to that? Yeah. Thank you. Leslie, thank you. Was that a seconder? Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah, Grant, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. So we have the minutes of the Great South Shareholder Committee meeting held on the 14th of November. And that's just to be received. Is there any discussion about those minutes? No? All right, somebody like to move that they be... Thank you, Darren. Grant, all those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the Connected Murihiku Joint Committee meeting held on Monday the 18th to be received, and a recommendation to Council to be confirmed. And there's one recommendation for that, which is recommendation 5.
I'll move those.
You will, Steve, thank you. A seconder. Yep, Barry, any discussion about those?
Yes,
Certainly, Trish.
thank you. Do we have a process for what's going to happen now?
So I'll let Steve respond to that.
Yes, we decided to end the joint committee and not extend that. We believe that it had I'll speak for myself, it had the time to achieve the milestones, most of which were done other than formalising what that process looks like. So there is a commitment from those around the table to move into an informal structure until that new, and it's referenced the charitable trust here is established, but that was the decision around the joint committee. There is a commitment from us, and then we're just working through that at the moment around what that would look like. So we're still going to hold our regular 6-week meetings, and Bex, as in the paper, is going to be back here hopefully at the front of the year to give an update on that.
Thank you.
So I didn't quite get the end of that, Steve, so just help clarify that for me. I understood that part of the project lead's role was to try and identify future funding as well in the period leading up, and it seems from the paper that has not occurred. Is that right? Have I got that right?
That's correct at this point, yeah. That
Okay.
funding in terms of what that structure looks like moving forward has not been secured.
Yep. So given the suggestion to set up a new charitable trust, that doesn't secure any funding though, does it, as such? Or does it give
That structure is still being worked through. So there is, in our previous meeting, when was that, Rhiannon?
It was yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday. Yep, there is another huddle type structure that's being used in similar organisations.
Yep, and so one of the options that came up for me was, is there a potential for that project to use the Invercargill City Charitable Trust as a vehicle for attracting other money, because sometimes you need a charitable trust to do that.
Yes, yeah, I'll
Okay.
refer to Pani as well, just to confirm that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Tom?
I was actually going to ask the same question that Trish did, because there's obviously a question about whether we continue funding in that in any way, isn't it? And I think the funding...
We're not funding
We're
it,
not
Tom.
funding that.
It's funded by IMBI, isn't it?
Yep.
But the question was what happened beyond when IMBI's funding ended, and whether we picked up that baton or whether we did not. And what I was going to say there was that given the annual plan process is underway right now, and we're going to be making decisions sort of January, February, one of the decisions that's going to be made is whether we pick up that baton or whether we don't. So I don't know, it can be kicked down the road till June or something. It's going to be something that we're going to have to address quite quickly. I mean, that's not, there's a lot of hard questions like that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you want to
Alex.
add to that?
Yeah.
Hi.
I'm happy just to jump in and support Stephen around the korero. So literally, yes, we achieved all our milestones through MB. So that's fantastic.
Yep.
We've got a great outcome. We've got a really good website platform that is being built, but also over time will be further developed by the community. So this here is basically an informal group going forward. and it's bringing community organisations with it. So it's not, we're just in the transition still, to bring on new members or directors, whichever way they decide to form. At this stage, there's a number of really interesting models out there in the community that are actually working, and that's sort of like, I don't know if you're aware of the huddle type model where there's specific groups of interest that actually work really collectively together. They work under an umbrella of another backbone of an organisation, community organisation. So this work is going to continue, well, in the front of the community. So there will be one in a held to actually make a lot of decisions around what the shape and feeling will be going forward. So that's probably the really good thing. Yeah, I think it's really around ensuring that the community is supported and connected. And this is what the whole project was about, was supporting organisations to, one, be self-sufficient, but also work collaboratively across the community for our needs of our community. So I have to say that the members did a fantastic job, and Bex did a really good job in pulling a lot of the community groups together across our whole rōpū. And to know that it's been handed over to the community is a benefit.
Yeah, it's great.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, Pani's pretty much said what I was going to say, but it was my understanding that the move that they're making now is to try to decouple from us as ICC and give it back to the community, so that, and to your point, that the work was being done to figure out how they could become self-sufficient, and this is their first step in that process.
Yeah.
Establishing the trust will enable them to work with community, but also work with, public-private partnership. It will enable them to source community funding. It will enable them to take it back to the community as opposed to being something that we're the parent body of the contract. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussions? No? So we have, so I move on a second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of November to be confirmed.
Move those.
Grant, thank you. Barry? Any discussion about those minutes? No? All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the Bluff Community Board meeting held on the 25th of November. Thank you, Grant.
Second.
Yeah, thank you. Tom, any discussion about those minutes? No? All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of November. Move.
Seconded.
Thank you. Is that you, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Any discussion about those? Oh, there's one recommendation, which is the Aru Bay land sale and the delegations that go with it. Oh, sorry, next meeting, sorry. Yep. Wind back, no recommendation with number 8. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the Infrastructure and Projects Committee held on the 3rd of December, and we have a recommendation with that, which relates to the Aru Bay land sale and the delegations that go with that.
Yeah, I'm happy to move that as chair.
Yeah, thank you. Seconder, Alex, thank you. Any discussion? No? All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the meeting of the Community Wellbeing and Regulatory Committee.
Moved, including the recommendation to council.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Yeah, Leslie, thank you. Any discussion about that? The recommendation resolves the proposal to revoke reserve land status on Aru Bay road reserves for the purpose of disposal. No discussion on that? Excellent. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Council submission, resource management consenting and other systems changes amendment bill and the local government water services bill. So that just has a receive the report and a delegate to the chief executive to prepare the submissions. Rhiannon.
Kia ora, Mayor. There's really probably not a lot more to add to the report. It's really just to draw to your attention that these two important bills have come out and we don't yet know the submission dates for them. They are expected to either be in January or early February, and therefore we're bringing this paper forward. There isn't a lot more update to provide at this point, but just a request to delegate to the Chief Executive to prepare those submissions on Council's behalf.
Okay. Any questions? Sorry?
Move the two recommendations.
You're moving, thank you. Seconded, Ria. Any questions about? No? All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Item 12, the S Street West update. Russell. Welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Take my report as read. I just thought it would be a good opportunity just to add a couple of comments around, I guess, the process that we're running through. The approach that we are seeing from our developer is probably a little bit different from what we've seen, so it's a little bit more fluid. We probably would have, when we're running a project, a bit more strictness around some of the things, but that's still something we're working well with them. There is more design work to conclude it, so the plans you're seeing are still not at the point for construction, and I guess that's that detail we're just working through. And one of the challenges that we continue to want to see with this is to make sure we can connect it to Esk Street and Don Street so it looks the same and the people will stream across. And I think if you stand down in Watna Place and you start to see the buildings coming alive down there, you suddenly see that the city centre is going to grow quite a bit. The report really highlights a little bit about the clock, and we have identified where a good place for the clock's new location is, the clock mechanism, which I thought was going to be the hardest thing that I was going to have to do is back and repaired and is actually looking better than it ever has, so that's really quite excellent, but it was just fortunate. We're still working through the columns and haven't got the final structural report on those yet, but that assures me will be in February. We are working well with the developer still, and that's still evolving, and I'm happy to take some questions.
Yep, certainly, Russell. I've got one in relation to the columns. We had quite a bit of debate early on about whether they should be removed or not. That was a aesthetics thing, I think. And then there was talk about the integrity of the columns themselves, structure-wise. But I thought we'd got to a position so long as they were structurally sound, they would be left there.
That's my understanding of the direction of council, and that's what we're trying to make sure that the columns are of sufficient strength.
Yeah, okay. So just a secondary question to that. If they weren't structurally sound, would we get some advice from you about how we might resolve that as opposed to necessarily removing them?
That's, I think, the natural process would be is they'll come back and tell us where the problem is and whether it's easy or hard to fix, and then the council decision can be made about what to do with them next. Certainly the designs that we are, I guess, have envisaging at the moment include the columns.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yeah, Barry.
Yeah, have they got a time span on when they're going to start tracking past where the clock is, like opening up Watna Place?
At the moment, the time process is being driven by the developer, and I guess that's one of the differences in this project, because he wants it finished, he wants to have it open. We can finish the clock independently of opening up Watna Place because it is off the side, but we'll be still working on a similar time frame. We don't want it to be significantly different. We need a frame to be built and then cleared, and I guess that's the piece that we will bring back is what does the clock look like, and all the drawings that you're seeing at the moment are just I guess that first impression. What that final looks like is actually will come back once we've actually our architects have come up with a concept, and I guess there's the opportunity to challenge what a clock looks like, or it could be quite conservative. So some of those things will be things that we'll bring back to you.
Okay. Just one more thing. Are they going to put pop-up bollards up there for entrance and
still an issue that we're working through about how we continue to control some of those areas, and it certainly is an issue that I'm continuing to encourage bollards to be able to, I guess, secure it off is the issue, whether they are electrical pull-up bollards. You may or may not know that we have them on Esk Street. Every now and then we nip down there and lift them up. That is manual, but it's part of that, the rest of that process that I highlight, that how do we make sure that we can, I guess, provide the appropriate level of enforcement so that the behaviours on the street are what we want over all of the day.
That's what would worry me. Thank you.
Yep, any further questions? Yeah, Grant.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Russell, thanks for the report and your efforts on this. Just a couple in regards to the retailers and then infrastructure. Feedback from the retailers at the start of the project, they were concerned about how it might impact them as we work through the sort of process. Have you had any feedback? Certainly from my perspective, it looks as though it's gone reasonably smoothly, but have you had any?
We haven't had any further feedback, but I guess there will be a period of time where Wapna Place will be a construction site, and that's how we minimise that.
Right.
And we'll need to continue to work with them. The areas where they continue to have access to outdoor areas will still be there.
Yeah.
So we're not necessarily doing those, but we'll work closely with them as we work through that.
Yeah, so we'll have an engagement process to work with them. Cool. And then in terms of the critical infrastructure, I know there was some pretty important stuff that we were doing, and there was some important infrastructure under there that could be, interfered with. Are we past that point of the risk of that infrastructure? Sorry, two questions. The infrastructure that we were doing is completed in terms of water and stuff?
So we have completed the sewer and the water main replacements and the stormwater, so we've effectively addressed our underground infrastructure.
Cool. And then with regard to the other critical infrastructure, I think relates to sort of telecommunications, are we past the sort of risk, or is that always going to be a risk until we walk and the project's finished?
In terms of Esk Street, it's quite a key area for some of the access to the central exchange, and that will be an area that we'll continue to have to watch and monitor carefully during construction. So, but I guess that has always been the case at any time where any repairs were done in Esk Street, even in the past, and going forward it will still equally be as key. But you're 100% correct. That's quite a critical area in terms of managing the safe networks.
So we're not out of the woods yet?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks.
Pretty good, though.
Steve.
Thanks, Chair. Hey, Russell, thanks for this. It might be too soon, but I was just interested in any work that's been done around speed, particularly coming off D Street into the lane. There's a degree of tightness, I guess, whipping around that corner into the heart of Wapna Place, off D, and I imagine slowing down to a relatively slow speed.
So we'll be looking for a speed similar to what Esk Street's posted at 10 k's or less. And that'll be, I guess, a process that we'll need to go through to, one, change the speed limit through there, and secondly, we'll also make sure that the infrastructure reads that you see going at the right speed through, I guess, not, I'm saying the shape of the road, not necessarily, but it's also the textures on the road. So.
And it's just the getting to 10 off D is.
I guess that's, if it reads right, then people will travel right. You know, we get a level of compliance in Esk Street, but we still have to be able to control it and manage it.
Trish.
It's my understanding, Russell, that that's just going to be for buses or for delivery of things from time to time. It's not for cars for the general public. Is that correct?
My understanding of the direction of council was that it was for tour buses.
Yes.
How we create that environment so only tour buses, there are a number of things that we've contemplated, and we will bring those suggestions back, and they could vary from creating, I guess, bus lanes and fines through to controls. And I guess how you get the right one to work for us is the secret.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? If somebody... I move on a second to receive that report. Grant and Barry, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. ICHL resolution in lieu to be approved by council.
Good.
Good afternoon, councillors. This is quite a procedural matter. Given the amount of reporting which ICHL provides to council, it was felt there's no need to hold a formal annual meeting to do that. We can avoid having to have a formal in-person meeting, and this is the mechanism in which to do that.
Not unusual, Mayor Clark. Happy to move the 3 recommendations.
Excellent, thank you.
Happy to
Seconder, Tom, any questions for Patricia? You get off very light again. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carry. Liability management policy and investment policy.
So this was something that we've just identified in the last couple of weeks, that when we went to have a look at a policy, we found that it had been missed off the suite of policies that was adopted with the LTP. And so we're just, this paper seeks to correct that and adopt the liability management policy and the investment policy. They were consulted on, they went out with the consultation documents, they just didn't make it into that final pack.
Excellent. Any questions? Tom?
Quick one. I think you've probably answered it actually, Patricia, but am I right in hearing that it wasn't intentionally withdrawn from the pack, it was just overlooked, or somebody never clicked on it when they were loading it up or something?
It was just overlooked. The number of attachments on the long-term plan, if you remember,
Yeah, I did.
it was just, of all the policies, we missed 2 off.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to move, Chair, on that.
Yeah, thank you. Seconder? Leslie, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Who's going to speak to this one? Oh, you are, Michael, aren't you? So we've got a report from the Southern Regional Collections Trust, and I'll just be a little bit transparent. I was asked last night, whether we would leave this off the agenda for today, giving the trustees of the trust a chance to be present as we discussed it, but I elected not to do that because I think there's been a lot of questions around the trust, and the report that we've now got does help clear what's transpired. And my reading of the report, which is a very good report, does show some, I guess, liability for council, the way we've allowed this trust to develop, but also some issues for the trust itself. So, and I have suggested to the Chief Executive that the trust members could be invited back in the new year to a meeting where we can discuss where to from here. The next meeting for the trust is on the 16th of January, at which stage they will appoint a chair and deputy chair. And I think after that meeting would be the appropriate time to be then having some discussions about where we go to. It seems our position is we would like the trust to get back to a CCO type position, and then we could then look at what trustee amendments we would need to secure that going forward. And I guess the trust will also be looking to their appointments panel and also looking for some new trustees as well. So they've currently got a couple of vacancies. One has resigned and one just the time was finished for that person. So Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. So this is a summary report of the Te Kupeka Te Aki Toka Southern Regional Collections Trust, as was requested. It provides the background information on basically where and how we've got to where we are. I think the key thing from both the council's point of view and the trustees' point of view is, as the late Queen said, recollections may vary. Everybody has a slightly different recollection of what was desired at the time this was set up. And I also think there is a variance of interpretation of what an independent trust actually means. Because of course you can be an independent trust and make decisions but still be a CCO. And then you can be an independent trust and not be a CCO. The issue relating to CCO status is largely likely to be cleared up by the fact that with council now more or less controlling the money coming in to the trust, in terms of Audit New Zealand's point of view, it is likely to be resolved as that they will determine it to be a CCO again. But there will obviously be the next stage of the CCO test and the Local Government Act that will need to be resolved, which, as Mayor Clark has alluded to, relates to essentially that appointments committee and any changes that may be required from there. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yeah, Pania.
Just one after reading it, and just what you just said, Michael, in regards to trustees' point of view may vary,
Yep.
you know, within this paper. So I'm just saying, is it true to assume that Te Pūkena Taki Tolka, Southern Regional Collection, we're actually not given the opportunity to contribute to this paper, or
This was a staff-only paper.
stuff only paper?
We do
Thank you for
provide any feedback from either.
confirming that.
Having said that, I do think there's a degree of goodwill now going on between the trust, that's the existing trust members, and the council as well, which probably wasn't there before, but it's not a matter of blaming where we've got to, because you could point the finger in both directions. It's a matter of finding a positive way forward. Other questions? God, this is easy.
Move the recommendation.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Second, Trish. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Elected and appointed members attendance register. Is that you again?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clark. It is our end of year tidy up for this. Any changes, please email them through to the team. There will be one or two that we do miss from time to time, so that it is valuable when you have the opportunity to see it now, rather than when we get the Lagoima request at the end of the training.
Yep, thank you. Seconder. Barry, any questions in relation to that?
Certainly one.
You have one?
Chair,
Yes, certainly, Tom.
Sorry? Oh, just one, and I think we did ask last time, Michael, but it's almost impossible to read in 2 pages because the names are not along the top.
Yeah.
I think we did ask last time, but I think if that could be added, it would greatly facilitate, because you've got to count.
No, thank you. We'll continue to work on that. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Comments? No? All right. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Chief Executive's Management Report. Michael, the other Michael.
Thank you. Through yourself, Chair. I'll take the report as read. Look, what I would like to highlight is it's a really busy time coming into the end of the year with all of the legislation that's coming through. You've had 2 come through and another few announced from government that are coming through very early in the new year in relation to even the Local Government Act as well. They are taking up a lot of the team's time in relation to the reviews. I do have some people working through the Christmas period to try and analyse the information, so we are in a position to provide submissions. So I wanted to highlight that is having an impact in relation to workloads, but at this stage I think we've got capacity to be able to get to a position we'll be able to submit on those, but it is a stretch. Other than that, I'll take the report as read and open to any questions.
Oh, questions? Excellent. There being none. A mover and a seconder. Darren, thank you. Barry? All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, just need to move into public excluded now. A mover. And, sorry, Darren and Leslie. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Fantastic.